Hello, good morning, and welcome. How are we doing today, guys? Hope everybody's doing fantastic, great on this fantastic freaking Friday, Veterans Day. By the way, if any of you out there are vets, thank you. Thank you for what you do. It's not an easy job, not at all. All right, but I digress, guys. So, a couple minutes late, but yeah, we're here. We're ready. We're gonna look at some stuff and see if maybe we can make some money today. Sound good? Sounds good. Who doesn't like making money? All right. So first things to kind of go over. It looks like we had a gap up overnight, though some of our overnight activity seems to have closed that gap. We can see that our overnight low, right around the 8 a.m. measure point, came straight down and touched our previous day close, right on the cent. All right. So, as far as activity between the two, we don't have a true gap, but we do have a true gap in the sense of price action. That being said, as you can see by our little arrow indicator here, we are actually getting closer and closer to our previous day high. So, any active gap between RTH hours is pretty gosh darn close to being filled. If we do start within the previous day high or right at it, at that point, we're not really looking at gap rules because that means our RTH hours have taken everything into account. But there are some things that we can be looking for as this day starts to build out and progress. So, first and foremost, everything up here at our top, right, our overnight high, this is where our 38.2% retracement is. It's a little bit higher. You can see right there on the chart. So we've got a little bit to go before we overtake that. We have overtaken the 50% retracement. So that's huge. That's really huge when it comes to retracing these bigger swing high, swing lows. Taking the 50 really starts to increase the odds of revisiting a full retracement. That being said, doesn't mean it has to happen. There's no guarantees. It just means that there's more and more odds of this pointing to a true rally. And there have been some things that are a little bit different about what we experienced yesterday that we haven't seen for a while. And it just kind of changed a little bit of the tone of everything that's been going on. Taking back the 50 and the 20 with such force, and on top of that, actually brute forcing our way inside the 20 moving weekly average. All right. So this is the first time in quite a while we've gotten some activity back up over the averages since we started our fun decline, right when everything kind of crossed over. Another thing that we want to be aware of is that our moving averages on the daily are even looking like they're getting ready to cross over towards the upside, and that hasn't happened in quite a while either. So there's lots of these indicators, these trading indicators that are starting to point towards some upward movement, motion, mayhem. All right, but we're still going to be focused on intraday stuff. We don't want to try to make our intraday decisions based off of that. It's good to know what the overall market is doing because then we can at least cheat towards that side, right? So if price action is just refusing to move back down into certain levels, that's going to give us some more confidence in taking long positions because everything else on our longer time frame is just really starting to point up. So that's really how we use the longer time frame to help us with our intraday trading. Okay, now that we got that out of the way, we're going to be paying close attention to the upper area here because this is potentially a spot that we would be able to short. There's a supply zone up here. We've got a VPOC. We've got the overnight high. There's a lot of things that we could run into as far as traffic is concerned. Now, when I say short, that doesn't mean we would short it with the hopes of we're going to go come crashing back down. We would be playing it, the same way we would be playing intraday movement. We would be shorting it, looking to see if we could get something back towards the previous day high, or if we were to start to find weakness in a downward movement, like if we were getting some balance through here, then we would, one second, Woo. Then we would obviously take our profit off the table. And the same thing's going to apply to our long positions, right? But with these, there's going to be a little bit more of a probability for breaking high. So with that in mind, we're going to be looking for long positions down near our previous day high, previous day close, the overnight low, provided price action does not start becoming accepted below it, right? If price action starts to get accepted below it, we're going to hang back a little bit. We're going to sit on our hands. We're going to let the market kind of tell us what's going on. If we start to get some retracement back down, but we never end up taking the half back, what we're going to pay attention to is if we get a value zone that starts to overlap. So if it overlaps, but it comes up over the top side, we'll be looking for a later day rally. Again, this isn't something that's going to be a guarantee, but the odds of something like that start to increase when you have value zones overlapping and you've already got an established rally. All right. So things to look for, things to consider. We've got the previous day high, the overnight low. We've got the half back below that if we end up breaking into the previous day value zone. If we end up taking the half back, that's when our focus may start to shift a little bit, right? That we're at that point, we want to take a peek to see if sellers are coming in super strong, if buyers are just completely absent. What's going on to really force this rally back into the hat? Because we do have a lot of trapped short positions too. And that definitely added some fuel to the fire yesterday. And there's still people who are going to be trying to short this thinking, there's no way, there's no possible way, right? Because we've been in such a down market that the attitude's going to be hard to shift and hard to shake. So we really have to make sure we are focused on the price action, what it's telling us, what the market is generating for information, because it's not going to lie to you. It can't. It's going to tell you what everybody's doing. So, but yeah, the skinny there is if we end up losing the halfback, then we want to take a longer look at what's going on other things because our 20 moving average on the weekly is right below that. So is that going to be a staging ground? Are we going to find some support there? Is that going to be like the big opening position for longs for some swing plays, right? Because we have to remember while we're playing intraday, we're also taking into consideration the people who are playing on different time frames. Right? That's why the 20s, the 50s, things like that become so important to us intraday, because those are generally the spots where people who are looking to play weeklies, monthlies, and the like, they're going to be putting on their positions or they're going to be taking off their positions. All right. So if we lose the halfback, we come down to the 20 moving average weekly. We're not going to look to short unless the 20 looks weak. If the 20 doesn't look weak, there's no way in heck we're going to try shorting that because that would be a perfect staging ground for some big, longer plays. Okay. Other than that, guys, bell is about to go off in about 25 seconds. I'm going to switch over to my main screen and switch over to the stream view for you guys so we can get ready to start our trading day. Turn those off for you now. Get over to our chat room. Well, trader chatter looks kind of weird today. There's no... Oh, there we go. Things were just having some trouble loading. Okay, that was weird. All right, anyways, here we go, guys. We are live. Let's see. First and foremost, what contracts do we want to dial up? I think with the activity we're looking at right now, we're going to want 396s on our long side. And then for the short side, we'll probably play the 395. So that way, if we do lose the overnight low, things like that, we'll be in a good spot. Because it is Friday, expiration, all that fun stuff. Yep, today is an expiration day. Just making sure. Sometimes it gets weird on the holiday days. Okay. Wasn't paying attention. We just lost a level that I was watching on the ES that I wanted to short. So I wanted to grab a short now that I'm looking at this on like that second candle on the chart there. Yeah, I mean, you can see it. It's a big one. Previous day high coming up. All right, there's the previous day high touch. First, this is our first level to monitor. What's going to happen here? We're going to lose it? We're going to hold it? Is this going to be a quick turnaround for an abrupt move up to challenge the morning high? Let's see. I'm going to get a VWAP crossover here. Challenge the 13 moving average. Let's see. Let's see. So if you believe things are going to be short here, the VWAP 13 moving average, that's your best risk to reward spot for shorting. If you don't believe it's going to be short, well, the previous day high would have been your best risk to reward spot for going long. I am not in any positions currently. No positions for me. All right, another touch of the previous day high, but this one got some penetration. Five-minute HA candles are definitely pointing to the downside. All right, here's our overnight low, previous day close. Another good risk to reward spot for long positions. So I am now in a long position. We're going to try and play the overnight low. If we don't take the 13 here, I'm probably going to bail. Okay, we're going to hang out. We are, however, going to go ahead and defend this just because it is morning. Oh, wow. It is morning activity, so things are can be pretty volatile, and I don't feel comfortable hanging on to it. But man, that's wild. That's only a 10-cent upstop right there. I thought I got a really good price on that. Oh well. All right, we're starting the morning 10 cents up. That's fine. Yeah, that shows you why right there shows you why I wanted to get out of that. No telling what kind of volatility we're going to run into here before we start establishing a direction for the day. There's definitely chances that we got out of position way too soon, but whatever, that's fine. It's the first half hour. I don't like to make my long-term decisions off of the first half hour. If this had just kept running up and our stop didn't get triggered, yeah, cool, awesome, that's great. We would have hung out in there, but we need the direction to be very decisive in the opening scrum once we've made a play. I've learned from experience that while there's still a possibility, right? Because I entered down here at the low. This could hold, right? We could just get some consolidation in here. We could get another touch and go. It's totally possible, but without it picking its direction and really making a run at it, chances are, because of the way volatility plays out in the morning scrum, you're going to get a better price if it doesn't just immediately work out in your favor, right? So that low right there, I could have actually just paid about 6 cents less than my opening position. And I pretty much picked the bottom of the barrel. We got our pricing at 1.4, and the lowest low was 1.36. And then that low right there just came down and it touched the 1.36, right? And you can see it's not even as low. Like we're at 1.36 right now, or we were. Now we're even below it. So that just kind of ties into the whole making sure you pick your placement and recognizing how much volatility there is in the opening scrum. Because that's the other thing too. Like, let's say I did grab a position here and then we just consolidate for the whole half hour. I'm going to lose so much theta value because of where it started. So definitely recommend, if you play within the first half hour, anything that doesn't immediately start working out in your favor, in your direction, don't make it a long play unless, you opened it with the intent of it being a swing. But Just advice, not financial advice, of course. I'm not a professional trader. I'm not a professional financial advisor. I'm none of these things. I'm merely giving you anecdotal advice based off of my experiences. What you do with that is totally up to you. There we go. I've always got to cover our assets. Okay. Making a crack at the overnight low. Very clearly, as you can see, we got out exactly where we should have. We could have gotten 20 cents on the move, but because we got stopped out, we got 10 cents, which is fine. 10-cent win is still a great win. Battling for the previous day close, battling for that overnight low. Actually, looks like we've got a channel forming that we can draw in. This is perfect. So this will give us a good idea when structure for the beginning kind of starts to break. We can already say that the thrust does appear to be shortening a little bit underneath the overnight low. So good sign for bulls. But we also have not broken away. We have not moved to the upside. We have not made a higher high. So far, each low has been lower. All right. So we'd say it's like a 1 to 3 bull favor, 2 to 3 bear favor. Oi. Geez, looking at our long-term portfolio, doing pretty good after yesterday. Love it. Love to see it. Especially when some of my bigger holdings from forever ago started flipping red. Did not like to see that. All right, got our first VWAP break of the structure for the morning channel down. We'll see where this high comes to. All right, so if this breakout doesn't fail, this will be a good spot for staging a long position. But it looks like it did fail, so womp womp. Oh, maybe not. That's tough. That's a tough one, right? If this candle closes below that channel line, then that's going to be considered a failed breakout. And it looks like it is going to close below it unless we get like a huge buy order before this tick is done. Yeah, lower low. But we'll see if the thrust looks like it's continuing to shorten. Nope. So if anything, that actually kind of renewed our thrust. Now we're not going to redraw our channel, right? Because this is a break. This is a failed break. If we did get some consolidation up there and then a fall, we would consider redrawing our channel. But especially considering this low too has come really close to the channel floor, this is still a valid playing channel. And we definitely do not have a shortening of the thrust yet, right? We had a touch, we had a shortening, we had a lengthening. So we're not going to be getting into any more long positions this morning until we get a clear break of the downward structure for the day. We're not going to try and guess the bottom on this bad boy. Oh, looks like we just made it down to the level that if I was shorting, I would have played to on the ES. All right. So if we did take that short back up at VWAP from like the very opening bell, this would be where we would have taken our first profit piece and then defended the rest of it. So if you are short, this is a spot I would recommend taking a little bit of profit. We are getting a crossover of the 20 and 50 on our 15-minute ES, crossover towards the downside. Looks like activity's slowing down a little bit down here. One of the things that we're going to be looking at in our profile chart is where the gap between our current spike low is, and then that slight volume protrusion on yesterday's spike. If it can maintain this current low, that'll be a good staging spot for a potential long, maybe around C period. That is, of course, if B period also holds its low and doesn't create pore structure or drop down into that gap. All right. We're going to let this play out for a little bit. And while that's going on, oh, hold on. See if we have something to analyze before I decide to step away. Thrust is definitely not shortening yet. And that closes the gap between those 2 points in yesterday and today. So our 393.19 support resistance is the next level we want to be watching. If we actually go down and touch the whole thing, we're going to create some slightly poor structure between yesterday's activity and today's. If we don't go down any lower, then that's a pretty good established low. Again, we're not going to be looking for a long until probably B or C period. Because it really would be guessing. With everything pointing down, our EMAs expanding, trading below VWAP, no shortenings of the thrust. It's totally guessing the bottom. We don't do that. We're just mentally preparing ourselves for what B period and C period might look like if this current thesis for being long plays out to what we're seeing right now. And of course, the information is going to change, right? As the time moves on, we're going to get more bars to the right, and our thesis could shift and change. Okay, here's a new break from the channel. That's actually quite a bit of volume that it's breaking on. I don't think this is going to be a failed break here. Yeah, does not look like it's going to be a failed break. But we're going to see if we get some pullback, and we'll go from there. But like I said, I did like that low. We'll probably try and get in long at the B period low. Maybe we'll get a crossover event right at our VWAP after this kind of futzes around for a bit. That would be a great signal and entry point. So far, we have made lower lows, and we still have not made a higher high yet. I mean, this came close. That previous day high, it's fighting it out there, huh? All right, so let's talk about a potential bear thesis with this activity. If we start to get some balancing, and let's say this ends up being the B period high. I mean, we got 13 more minutes to go. But if the previous day high ends up being the B period high, we would actually have a pretty decent spike and proper high on the current activity. So we'll see how much this tries to retrace in A period. If it struggles and kind of dies out here. We did finally just get Hey, hi. Oh, excuse me. Man, so I was going to step away to go get some caffeine in me, but then exciting stuff started happening. But you know what? All right, I am going to step away and go caffeinate because I'm not going to put another trade in before B period starts, anyways. So I'll be right back, guys. Okay, and we're back. 8 minutes to go to B period. We've got a new high on the day in A period, and we're still really liking that low. We missed the crossover event while we were gone. That's a shame. That would have been a great spot to enter. Right at the previous day high, above VWAP. Oof. Yeah. So I missed it, but if you got in it, good for you. Great spot. I would consider defending it in that thin area. So basically, if we lose the 13, that's where you would want to defend this up move because we still don't know if this is going to balance or if it's going to single time frame. Doot and do. Doot and do. Oh, thought I was muted for a second. Oh, thank God. Would have had to throw the whole video out. think the cough's getting a little better. Definitely not coughing as much. Doom, 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 doom. We got 396s on our longs. Yeah, still like those as our contracts to play. Doom, 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 doom. I think we need a reverse channel for this. We don't have anything good to attach to the bottom yet. There we go. All right, there's our 13 coming through, heading towards that thin spot. Oh, looks like that took off, huh? All right, why don't we add a little zone rot there. So based on how that's positioned, that'll be good. That kind of tells us that a retest of the VWAP might be a demand zone. Also, that being said, I think we're establishing the low for our channel. Right now, we're just playing a guessing game. I'm putting the low where it might make sense for it to go. So we are getting closer to B period, and it is going to be closer to figuring out whether or not we're balancing or single time framing. So here's our VWAP test. We'll see if this ends up holding as support. Doesn't look like there's as much demand there as we initially thought. It has held, though, so there's that. Let's see, we had a low of 136. Anything lower than that is below VWAP. So we are in our price range right now, and we may have just missed it. Yep. So it was in a good price, but I hesitated. We would have been within 10 cents of knowing we were wrong. So those are definitely good. So actually a good lesson there. So when I'm picking my price point, I try to be no more than 20 cents away from where I would know I was wrong. So that's kind of how I calculate that out. So the closer I can get to that point where I would know I was wrong, the better. That one would have been under 10 cents. And I mean, you can see that would have been huge, right? We would have been in at 1.4. That just shot up to 1.7. 30 cents on that one candle right there. So even if this found resistance at this line that it looks like it's going to bust through, oh, that's a shame. There's a 40-cent move that we're not in on. Okay. Not going to let frustration build. We analyzed the play correctly. We were just a little slow. And that's fine. It's going to happen. Moving on to the next play. See if maybe we get a shortening of the thrust and if we will have a viable short for a balance. So if you did grab that long where I was talking, you should have absolutely taken one of your pieces at that resistance level, and this should have stopped you out. Can potentially play VWAP again, but this is the second knock in a short period of time, so probability of bouncing does start to decrease a wee bit. Especially with our EMAs starting to condense on each other. We might be seeing some balance. So I set a stop in order for the short side at our previous day high VWAP. See if we do end up getting a breach or a break. Obviously, there's a better price for shorts if we were trying to play it, but that should be a good spot to catch a momentum play if this fails out. Oh! Wow. That did not stop me in. That completely skipped my stop by. And I'm glad it did. What the heck just happened? Did some news just come out that I'm missing? Hold on. Hold, please. See if anybody in the server knows or has heard anything. I think we're gonna pop open the internet too. See if anything comes up. I don't see anything popping up immediately. All right. Well, I got nothing, guys. I can't find anything. So maybe just some big players decided that that was the spot they wanted to play at. Yes, the only thing is it was very uncharacteristic to what we had seen so far today. That's why it threw me for a loop. And now it seems to be condensing in that same area again. It was right at the start of B period, and we now have poor structure on the day in both directions. So maybe we do have a little inkling there that the timing of that seems to have coincided with the Michigan Consumer Sentiment Survey. So maybe there was some language in there that some algorithms were reacting to. Very interesting. Another thing, too, today, funds did not settle overnight from Thursday into today. And that does sometimes affect the trading throughout the day when we have holidays like that where banks are closed but the market's open. Here we go. New high on the day and in B period. All right. Potential upthrust event. I'm going to be very hesitant about shorting under VWAP. The reason is with those big explosive candles that happened all within a minute, well within a minute. I suspect there may be some trades or some positions trapped down there. So we could see some violent pushing back up again. I think I might sit on my hands for a hot minute. Could probably delete this zone because that doesn't exist anymore. However, that was a zone we missed from this morning. No way in heck we would have been able to just hop into that based on how fast everything moved, but it's still cool to see. Bum, bum. Yeah, don't feel like making any plays right now. I don't like this action. Very violent. Seems like maybe there's some buying campaigns going on below VWAP. Kind of noticing now that ever since we touched down here, every push below VWAP has been met with some pretty significant order influxes, right? I mean, just look at that. All right, back up to that potential supply zone. So that's a pretty big up wave that didn't seem to get where it wanted to go. Lost the price. That would have been great, though. Hesitated a little too long on that, but it's all right. I am not really feeling like shorting is the best way to go right now. That would have been just an advantageous scalp. Look at that. All right. Finally breaking to the upside. New high on the day. Five-minute HA chart looking like it's wanting to cross over to the upside. All right. All right. We're using that secondary trend line to help measure shortening of the thrust up here. So far, though, it's pretty sharp incline. PC ratio right on the neutral line. Hmm. C period coming up in just under 10 minutes. B's kind of floating away here. At least that super violent activity seems to have calmed down. Yeah, we're almost to our long line for the day, just based off of a consolidation period from the overnight activity. Just no good entry points here yet. Waiting for something to give us an indicator that we can make a play. But we're just hugging the top of the channel now. No shortening of the thrust in sight. It's a shame. All that volatile activity right at 10 a.m. had me kind of sit on my hands and stay out of these plays. And now, I mean, once it finished resolving itself, it's just melting upwards. Nice and slow. Hmm. Yeah, sorry guys. It just really isn't much to analyze with this kind of activity. It's very low volume, slow moving. It's not like there's a ton of buyers. It's just kind of a couple people buying and nobody selling. Of course, right as I say that, something exciting starts to happen. Maybe we'll finally get a low we can play off of. So the first spot we're going to be paying attention to is the thinnest part of this profile and see if that's where it makes its low. So then potentially we'd be looking at a double distribution. And that would give us something to play off of. But it looks like it stopped with a wick right at that can't even call it a peak because the volume up here is just kind of square. Yeah, so we did not get a pullback far enough to play off of there. I'll see how the rest of this plays out. Maybe it'll just spin sideways for a while, and then we'll sit here and do nothing, and eventually just walk away for the day. But who knows? Maybe we'll get lucky. Maybe there will be a play that meets our criteria. Jeez. So I guess since everything's kind of slow, we can talk a little psychology. So these are the moments, guys, where we really have to avoid what's called board trading. Right? There's nothing going on. It's not very exciting. None of the setups that we're waiting for are happening. And sometimes what can happen is we almost feel this obligation to get into a trade. I actually recall some of my earlier live trading days before I was recording them and just live trading in the Discord channel with people watching. I would oftentimes just like hop into a trade to have something to talk about, have something for everybody to see, for me to see, for something to do. And it was never a good idea. Sometimes it worked out, most times it didn't. And a lot of times it didn't, because what would happen is those forced trades would then let all these emotional issues and flaws and mistakes start to creep in on top of it. So similar to FOMO, right? We don't want to force ourselves into a position that doesn't meet our criteria, because then the decision making process starts to uh, get hamstringed a little bit, because at that point, well, we're not really following our usual plan. We're winging it. We're just kind of making it up as we go. And that works for some things in life, but trading, where things move fast, emotions can run rampant, it just isn't a good idea to expose yourself to that kind of chaos. Um, and yeah, So it stinks. It's boring. It sucks, but I'd rather place fewer trades, win more trades, win bigger trades than just try to always be doing something. And that's a lesson that's taken quite a while to really sink into my enormously thick skull. And hopefully it has sunk in well enough. Um, I mean, you guys haven't really seen me jumping into plays for the sake of being in plays. If nothing else, I just kind of whine and complain that none of my setups are happening. So that's kind of a good sign. Progress, right? And those are the kind of goals and progress that you should be measuring with your trading, especially early on, right? I mean, if you're not doing this for a living and you haven't been doing it for 5+ years, you shouldn't be trying to measure yourself on P&L. That's just a bad idea. Bad news bears. You should be measuring yourself on whether or not you're able to execute trades well. Measure yourself based off of your ability to read and respond and react to the market. The P&L comes with being good, right? The better you are at all of these things, the less mistakes you make, the less flaws that you let kind of seep into your trading, the better your P&L is going to look. But if you're so focused on the P&L that you start letting yourself make mistakes, you're going to have really big drawdowns. And you're going to be in what's known as the boom and bust cycle. You'll be one of those traders who, from a technical standpoint, they really do know what they're doing, right? They trade well most of the time. But then the flaws start kicking in. The emotions start to take more and more control over their trading and their decision making process. And then all of a sudden, you get a drawdown that's equal to months of progress, all on like one trade. Because you do things like you revenge trade, or you FOMO into a position, or you force a trade out of boredom. And then because your decision making suddenly starts to get destroyed by the emotions, you're doubling down, you're tripling down, you're making all these little silly mistakes that you wouldn't have otherwise made if you weren't in such a heightened emotional state. Because you have to remember, your emotions are always going to be part of this. You can try to suppress them and be a robot, but ultimately, at the end of the day, you're a human being. You have emotions. You need to learn to work with them and recognize the early signs of when emotion is taking over your higher faculties and your decision making process. Because then you can abstain from making decisions, and then you won't end up making those flaws and those mistakes that you otherwise wouldn't make. Cool. So in the time that we chatted about that, had our little rap session, little heart to heart, we are starting to see something that could potentially be playable. So we're getting some consolidation down towards our short line. We're coming towards the bottom of the channel. One of the things that we've got going on is we have a slight downward channel within our channel. So that's something we're going to pay attention to for long or a short. Also, looking like the moving averages are getting close to crossing over. They haven't yet, though. We're also on top of a gap as we've entered into our C period. The gap is actually right around here at our short line. So, I mean, if this gap holds for C period, this is going to be our long spot. It's actually getting close to being a good price. We may have missed out on the good price, but this price action is kind of blah. Obviously, our most ideal point is going to be right at the bottom of the channel here, but we also don't want it to fill in that gap. So, I mean, Kind of looking at that little wick down there just below our short line, actually isn't looking like it would have been a bad spot to take our entry. Of course, now that we're kind of churning sideways, things aren't really moving. Glad we didn't enter there because it looks like we're going to get an even better price. All right, here we go. Ooh, getting a little breach of the channel there. Not going to enter unless this rejects the break. Because now we are looking like we're getting a crossover of our moving averages. Moving down to that support, we got VWAP just below. Moving averages have officially crossed over. Kind of broken two separate structures here. And it has filled in the gap. But we are looking for a good low on C period to get long in. We could take a risk down entry long here and continue to use our VWAP as our line in the sand. Oh, just as I switched to a single contract. Well, hesitation got me there again. It's all right. Bottom picking is a dangerous game anyways. This does look like it's losing a little bit of steam in that thin area in the profile. Okay, now it's rotating through. Good risk to reward spot for shorting here in a second. That channel break looks like it lost some of its energy. They're still kind of fighting it out in this no man's land. Almost grabbed a single contract down there. Almost. That wasn't a hesitation. That was just a... Wasn't sure if it was the right decision or not. So I decided not to. I was hovering. Getting some coiling price action in this area. So far, it hasn't rotated down through this higher volume node. ES is challenging its VWAP, sitting right on top of it. I think we're going to look for a long entry once these moving averages look like they're crossing back to the upside. potential supply zone here. This will be where we would expect to get a little bit of a pushback that should give us our entry. Probably going to want to preload this. All right. So looks like we didn't get a pullback for the fill. And that's unfortunate because that kind of took off. All right. We missed another play. Might be being too picky today. That's all right. We got about 9 more minutes, guys. Then we're going to shut the stream down for the day. Shame we didn't get any really exciting plays today. I think that volatile activity right around 10 a.m. just kind of shook me out. Not in a sense of shaking me out of position, but just my mental game. Felt pretty good this morning going into it too. Felt very, very confident, and felt like I was ready to see everything. Oh well, there be days like that. Yeah, we're not going to make a play. We're going to go ahead and shut the stream down. Thanks so much for hanging out, guys. Have an awesome, spectacular Friday. If you like the content, please like, subscribe, come hang out in our Discord. Be my friend, be my pal. All right. Well, you don't have to be any of those things, but you can at least hang out, ask questions, things like that. I think we're going to try and record a market update video today. Kind of look at this week's activity, the major players, what happened, talk about FOMC, things like that. All right. So enjoy your Friday, guys. Have a great weekend, and we'll catch you later. Bye.